Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Schmalz, and I'm here tonight as a candidate vying for the position of Reeve in the Arm of Prince Albert. My goal this evening is the same that has been this entire campaign: to impress upon you, the good people of the community, that I am the best choice to serve as your Reeve. My campaign platform from the beginning has been built on 3 pillars: crime reduction, economic development, and infrastructure. Criminal activity and theft are huge problems in our region, and as a veteran of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, this is where I believe I have a great deal of insight. I understand the ins and outs of frontline operational policing. I understand the immense pressure for resources faced by our police services, and will work as a bridge between the police and council to come up with unique and collaborative solutions to help mitigate crime in the RM. I will assist council and administration in working with our provincial government through programs like Safer Communities and Neighborhoods, otherwise known as SCAM, as well as our municipal law enforcement stakeholders on strategies to curb criminal activity throughout the region. If possible, I will advocate for things like strategic police patrolling, possible bylaw enforcement, or programs like Citizens on Patrol, which would work in conjunction with the already existing rural crime watch groups. These initiatives have proven effective in combating criminal activities in other communities where I served as a police officer. Crime in the Arm of Prince Albert is a serious issue that requires experience, serious attention, and action. Economic development is of vital importance to ensure a vibrant and growing RM and region. As a business owner and entrepreneur, I understand the importance of branding and preparing a portfolio to present to potential developers, businesses, and investors who may be looking to us as a place to set up shop. Commercial investment will create opportunities for employment and services that will benefit everyone. As Reeve, I will work with council and administration to develop a plan to entice companies and developers to our region through our own efforts, as well as efforts under the newly formed Prince Albert Regional Economic Development Alliance. A broader tax base created by investment will lessen the tax burden on existing businesses, farmers, and residents. An influx of investment will greatly augment the RM's ability to deliver new and existing services and infrastructure to everyone. Now, aside from being a business owner and resident, I am also a farmer in the RM of Prince Albert. RM Council and administration have done a commendable job repairing damaged infrastructure over the last decade. As Reeve, I will work with council to ensure we continue investing in vital infrastructure used by everyone. I believe roads and road maintenance in the entire RM of PA are key investments that need to be placed near the top of the priority list. The majority of land in the RM of PA is farmland, and it is incumbent upon council and administration to make sure farmers can get in and out of their fields at key times of the growing season. It is also incumbent upon council and administration to ensure residents and business owners have full access to their homes and places of work. Infrastructure maintenance and creation needs to be done in a measured way, ensuring fair and equitable delivery of services to everyone. And finally, I would like to take this opportunity to express my thanks to the Prince Albert District Chamber of Commerce for their initiative in providing this platform so that the electorate may have access to the candidates directly. I would also like to thank each and every one of you here tonight and those of you tuning in on the live stream. Your interest and engagement are vitally important to every facet of our democracy. I look forward to engaging with you this evening and answering your questions to the best of my ability. Thank you very much.
Eric, the question again is, what is your plan to strengthen the RM's current relationship with the City of Prince Albert?
I think that any inroads that are made through relationships that you've previously developed in private life or in business life with the City of Prince Albert are always an asset. And we've had a working relationship with the City of Prince Albert through business for many years. And we spend a lot of time in the same circles as a lot of the councillors and the mayor, and we have a good connection to them already. What I would like to see done is that council and Reeve set up not a forum, but a meeting, or a monthly meeting where we can all sit together and discuss the issues that are happening in the region, areas that we could work together symbiotically and be able to develop solutions to problems that we might come up in those meetings. That's where I think that we could strengthen our relationship there. And also, I think that the development of a lot of the steps have been taken already through council by the implementation of the new Regional Economic Development Alliance. That's something that's huge. That's going to reap great benefit for everyone involved, including both the Arm of Prince Albert and the city proper.
Eric, if you get elected, what will be your first priority as Reeve?
Well, there's several. My first priority would be, in the immediate future, to sit down at the council table with the RM Council as Reeve and have a conversation about what we are prepared to offer any potential businesses that are going to come to us through PREDA. The PREDA has stalled slightly just based on the news I'm hearing that there was some issues with the membership and they've got that all straightened out, so it's going to be kicking off pretty quick here. What we want to have is a professional presentation that we can slide across the table to any businesses that come to us through PREDA, and they will see that we are a viable option in order to do business with. We want to be able to have that ready to go in the can, because once PREDA kicks off, there's going to be tremendous competition from the other communities. It's not just going to be, here you go RMP, take this one, we'll get the next one. That's not happening. What's going to happen is there's going to be some competition there for those tax dollars, those investment dollars that we need desperately in the Arm of Prince Albert. So that's my first, what I think I would do as first order of business, is to bring the council together on June 13th, if we can do it, and get the new Reeve and new council should be sitting down and discussing where we can make these inroads within PREDA, the offers that we can make to these businesses through when PREDA kicks off.
Eric, the question again is, what do you consider the biggest challenges facing the RM and how will you overcome these?
I think, and I speak for a lot of people that I've talked to over the course of this campaign, crime has to be at the top of the list. The biggest hurdle we have here is the perception of what happens in the RM. Do we want to do business here? Our businesses are getting broken into. I mean, it's never a good public perception to have when you're trying to attract business to come here. What I would do there's two things that I would do right away that could be done effectively and cheaply through action on behalf of council if they'd approve it. And that is to engage with the RCMP directly. We have a vast area to cover geographically. The response times to the community are very, very long sometimes because we have new recruits coming in and they don't understand the land location system. They don't understand how things work. So, especially if they come from out east. So what my plan would be, something simple, just to implement right out of the gate, is to have the recruits who come from Regina, they have to do a community project. Have them come into the community and do a community directory. Not only with the land location, but map out the GPS coordinates or develop some kind of an address number system where they can find these things on a map or through their GPS in the police vehicles. This is something that can be done with no cost to the RM. The community projects that these recruit field trainers do, they are done for free, and we can have it done really easily.
Eric, the same question. What do you think the RM of Prince Albert's biggest strength is?
I think our biggest strength is our geographical location. We are right next door to the third largest city in the province. We are on a highway corridor that leads to the north, where all the resources in this province reside, or most of the resources in this province reside. We've got big resource developments happening all around us. We've got a tremendous opportunity that I think that we are needing to take advantage of, and we're moving in that right direction right now. But what I think our biggest strength is where we are in proximity to resources, to a large center, and to major highway traffic coming through. That's where I think.
Eric, finally, what experience or qualifications do you have that would make you a good candidate for Reeve of the RM?
Well, first of all, I grew up in this community. I understand how it works. I understand how the community thinks. I was a 13-year member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Started here in Prince Albert, went to La Loche, went to Lloydminster, went to Nacum. I've got experience policing in different communities in the northern part of this province. I'm also a business owner. I have practical business experience here in the city and elsewhere. I have deep connection to the community, and I have political ties here as well, with both the current government and our municipal politicians. I have farming experience. I've been in multi-generational family farming most of my life. Farming on my own, not till recently, later on, and that bolsters well for my experience, rounding out my experience. So I think that if I'm able to be put in the position of Reeve, I think that I could use all three aspects of my experience to better and further the RM.
Thank you. So Eric, the question once again, as you know, acreage owners and commercial business do a lot of heavy lifting as far as taxes in the RM. What are your plans to bring these taxes down to a more reasonable rate?
Well, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, the answer has to be broadening economic development, not only in the region, but specifically in the RM, because business development in the RM of Buckland or in the city of Prince Albert doesn't translate into tax dollars in the RM coffers. We can't. The residential development is one option, but I think to better serve the community, we should be focusing on business development and development through the new Regional Economic Development Alliance. I think those are key areas where we need to spend our time and develop a proper plan to be able to implement any of those proposals and bring them into our fold in the RM of Prince Albert, not just in Buckland or Prince Albert or any of the surrounding communities that are all part of that Regional Development Alliance. So I think that's where our focus needs to be, and that's where I would focus.
What are your views on monitoring council members who choose to ignore provincial laws and regulations for their own benefit? How would you do it?
The RM Council and RM administration is governed by bylaws. And those bylaws need to be robust, they need to be clear, they need to be concise with causal and effect scenarios. So I've had a chance to review some of the bylaws, and I would say, in my opinion as a former police officer, they're fairly ambiguous and need to be updated and brought into the modern time to be able to deal with some of the issues that that RMs face, not just the RM of Prince Albert. It could be municipal politics within the city or wherever. It is incumbent upon the RM apparatus to have robust rules and regulations that have a clear cause and effect relationship. And I think that should be dealt with as well. I've read the bylaws, as I said, so are some of the bylaws, and they are very, very ambiguous.
Thank you. What will you do to increase the RCMP's presence on our roads, especially the 302? How would you entertain the idea of having our own policing team to enhance the Rural Crime Watch and faster response time to emergency calls or suspect activity? Brackets, I realize this has financial implications, brackets.
Well, just to go to one of Paul's points, I can tell you that when I was policing here as a police officer with the RCMP, there was no priority given to the north. It was wherever the calls came, that is where you went. If it was whoever was there first, whichever call came in first, that's where you attended, and it was given priority sequence based on the seriousness of the event. Now, the RCMP is a statistics and intelligence-driven and statistic-driven police force. I had a conversation with one of our plainclothes members there yesterday after our business was broken into for the 50th time and over the last 2 months, and they said that by their estimation, less than 50% of the crime in the RM of Prince Albert is being reported. People are just not wanting to be bothered to phone the police because they don't see a measurable result coming immediately. They don't see charges being laid, they don't see people being arrested, they don't see a result immediately. What I can tell you is this: Every time you phone the RCMP, a file is generated, and that generates a stat. And that one stat goes into a database, and that stat is held there. And if you have enough stats, that is what guides the RCMP. They will change, they will bring resources to bear when they see that there is a spike or a surge in criminal activity or in crimes being committed in a certain region. And that means bringing more staff in, that means bringing more patrols in, strategic police patrolling, things like that. So if we we need to convey to the residents and ratepayers of the RM that they need to report absolutely everything, no matter how trivial it is, because it's vitally important to having the correct response or a more robust response from the RCMP. If you don't report it, it's like it never happened. One drop of water doesn't mean much. Many drops of water, you can move mountains. And that's the way statistics work within the RCMP.
Followed by Doug. So the 2 points the gentleman raised are, what do you plan to do, or how will you bring about a long-term plan, and how will you communicate that plan? Is that a fair summary of your question, sir?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think it should be apparent, I hope, by the way I've structured my campaign, that I would be working within council, with council, to try to better create transparency within the RM of Prince Albert. And that can be done through something as simple as our website. The website in the RM of Prince Albert, I don't know if anybody here has navigated it lately. It's pretty archaic, and it's not easily navigated. It's not something that's appealing to the eye. It's something that can be worked on. I understand it's being worked on now, and that can be furthered. But I think that we need to start possibly looking at posting everything on our website so that people have access to what we're doing. The agenda to the RM meetings, that possibly could be posted on the website. The grader schedule, that could be possibly posted on the website. The stuff that we can communicate, even people don't always use the internet. So things like mail-outs, newsletter, something like that is not prohibitively costly, that can be done to communicate to people that don't always have access to internet or internet connection or technology. And Facebook is another boon for communicating to people in the modern day. So I think that greater transparency has to be one of the items that needs to be brought to council, and council needs to visit it and formulate a plan on how that can be accomplished.
It deals with 44th Street West. What needs to be done to have that road properly maintained all year round? Whose responsibility is it?
44th Street West is the, if I'm remembering correctly, is the road that runs from Glenmore Equipment to Bob Peters' sawmill there, down on the way to the steel sales office there. I'm not sure who owns that. I think it's Bar Steel now. Anyway, that road is owned partially by the RM, I believe, and partially by the city. Now, in order to come up with a solution there, and I know that road, we use that road constantly, and it is a treacherous road, probably one of the worst maintained roads in the RM, and not because of the fault of the RM of Prince Albert, but because it's jointly owned, and sometimes there's a bit of a crossover there that doesn't happen. The RM of Prince Albert can negotiate with the city of Prince Albert collaboratively, to build that road up into a proper serviceable road. It is the road that heavy trucks and equipment use to bypass Marquis Drive. It's something that we need to have in the RM, and you can't go down to Elevator Road, because Elevator Road is quite a bit longer and quite a bit further out of the way for these trucks to move equipment in between businesses or in between highways, major highways there. So I think that we need to sit down and work collaboratively with the city of Prince Albert in investing in that road, making sure that it is a viable option for companies to use to transport their goods and their services between their main highways, two main highways.
Thank you. Okay, and finally, Eric, why are some ratepayers allowed to undertake their own road maintenance, and why are bylaws not consistent?
I think
I think, as my fellow candidates have mentioned before, that were mentioned here just now, there needs to be fair and equitable treatment under every aspect of services provided by the RM. I think that people need to abide by the RM bylaws, and if they're ambiguous, as some of the bylaws I've read are, then they need to be tightened up and bolstered through more definitive language. The problem with trying to enforce bylaws through complaints is that I don't know, or I've never been privy to the RM having a bylaw officer or someone an enforcement agent who is able to go out and speak to these people and administer fine if necessary, or warnings, or the RM could do it through letters, but they'd be basing it on complaints made by an individual rather than having it investigated. I think that having someone in place that can act on behalf of the RM to enforce bylaws that need enforcing, as they all do, is key and vital. And I think that we should be looking to contract those services out.
Thank you. A large country residential and commercial development has been approved in the RM of PA, south of PA City. The developers, Clooney and Broda, are asking for large tax concessions and the forgiving of development fees. Any other developer, would you support this and allow this to happen, or would you treat this development the same as all the other ones? Sorry, batting word.
My response will be fairly short, because as I do most things in life, I don't like to make assertions based on partial information. I understand that the question was posed with some direct knowledge, possibly that may be only privy to the RM Council. Now, for me to sit here and make assertions and proclamations about what should be done and what shouldn't be done without the possession of the entire facts is not fair to you, the ratepayer, or fair to me as the Reeve. It could make me look foolish, so I'm not prepared to comment on that specific matter, but I will say that fair and equitable treatment under the administration of the RM is paramount. And I think that if a business proposal is sound and has merit, then it should be entertained and discussed. And as far as this specific matter goes, I don't have the information, and I'm not prepared to make any kind of assertion on it at all.
I would like to know what is the best plan for fire response in our community in the RM of PPA.
Okay, Eric? Do you want the question repeated?
No.
Okay.
I was at a community town hall session at Osborne School that some people in the crowd are familiar with, and there was some concern by the ratepayers that the RM was actively pursuing a one end and not considering the impacts on the other. What I think that we need to do is develop a package of information where we can reliably state that one form of service is better over the other. But to do that, we need to be in possession of all the facts and all the information. And there's a lot of stuff that is still left in the unknown right now, because the city has not come back completely with what they're offering, and I think that any further discussion needs to be done so in full possession of all the information. And then our decision should be based on what is best for everyone in the RM, not just the people that are close to town, but the people that are further out, and vice versa, the business owners, whether that be hybrid models of both, I don't know. But right now, what we need to do is make sure that we are in possession of the full information so that we can make an educated decision based on fact and not just conjecture.
Gentlemen, where do you stand on the proposed provincial law requiring landowners permission to go on their land? Eric?
I think in modern agriculture, biosecurity is very important. And in that light, I think that, well, not only biosecurity, but personal security as well. I think that this legislation is important to prevent things like club root, things like if you have an animal operation disease from being spread from one farm to the other. You don't want to have people driving on your property spreading invasive species or infectious disease to your farming operation. And I think that is important. I also think that it is true that the RCMP need, and I worked through this when I was a police officer, you can't necessarily go in there and arrest somebody without being informed that the person is in fact trespassing. This is something that I think would be a great tool, that is a great tool now for police services and biosecurity in the agriculture sector. I think that's a very important piece of legislation.
As far as bylaws go, I have two questions. You guys have all mentioned commercial development in the RM. A lot of our commercial bylaws are very antiquated. You guys do have a development officer on staff with the RM that is basically a go-between between your council or super council and the people wanting to do developments. Probably would be a good idea to get those bylaws up to date. And what would you guys do to get those bylaws up to date in a reasonable time to attract?
As I've mentioned a few times now in comments here that the bylaws are antiquated, they are ambiguous, and they need to be tightened up to prevent items from slipping through the loopholes. The conversations that we need to have around the council table, I believe, in my opinion, is that the council needs to be engaged to do this quickly. It can't happen weeks or months or, well, weeks or months, but not years down the road. We can't have continued to operate in the same way with the same bylaws and still have an effective response to concerns from ratepayers, incidents that crop up from time to time that need a concise language in a bylaw to be able to act on it. I think that is paramount. I think that along with conversations about what we're willing to offer these businesses to come to the RM of Prince Albert, we also need to have conversations about the bylaws and what we can do to tighten those up and make it more clear, causal and effect situation.
Thank you. Okay, I think we can boil that down to saying basically what are your thoughts around the dedicated industrial park? Is that fair enough?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Personally, my position would be, I have a little bit of reticence in investing a massive amount of tax dollar and ratepayer dollars and leveraging the RM to build a what-if scenario. The companies that would be coming here, we would propose to them, in my opinion, we should propose to them through council that they should, if we're going to do business here, we have to have them foot the bill to develop the land, because we can't afford, in my opinion, to be building a large commercial industrial area, not unlike the green space that the city of Prince Albert did at the airport, and then have that huge. I mean, there were some dollars funded through the federal government and maybe some from the provincial government and things like that. But that industrial site, as many of you know, is just growing grass now. There's nothing there other than some roads and a pump house, I think. So we don't want to have that situation here. I think we need the chicken before the egg, and that's how we do it.
I too would like to thank my fellow candidates. It's not an easy thing, both a time-consuming thing to be a candidate for any office, any position in public life. Is takes a very unique individual, and it's something that I think that is a commendable thing. Not to toot my own horn there. I'm heartened to see the level of public engagement here tonight. And I'm hopeful that the issues raised here in this forum will see their way to the council table for discussion in the future. I would like to offer these final thoughts in closing. The RM of Prince Albert is standing on the cusp of tremendous economic opportunity. The formation of a regional economic development alliance and the potential for new resource development in the region has the RM and its ratepayers well positioned geographically to benefit in a big way. I fervently believe that with the right leadership and planning, we can all succeed together. So, I stand here before you with great humility and respect and ask for not only your support, but your vote on June 12th. Thank you all very much for coming, and have a great evening.